I challenge you to try something for the next 30 seconds. Stop trying to feel peaceful right now. Don't adjust your breathing. Don't try to relax your shoulders. Don't think positive thoughts. Just be exactly where you are with whatever you're feeling. Notice what happens when you stop the effort. Most people discover something surprising in that moment of surrender, a stillness that was already there, hidden underneath all their trying. This simple experiment reveals the core principle that will transform your relationship with peace forever. Most people don't realize they're caught in a psychological trap that makes peace impossible to find. Your brain operates like a problem-solving machine that constantly scans for threats and solutions. When you feel stressed or anxious, this machine kicks into high gear and starts working overtime to find peace. The problem is that peace isn't actually a problem to be solved. Our brains evolved to keep us alive, not to keep us peaceful. Every time you feel restless, your neural circuits fire up and start searching for what's wrong and how to fix it. You might think, I need to meditate more, or I should organize my life better, or maybe I need a vacation. Your brain treats peace like a destination you can reach if you just work hard enough to get there. Here's where it gets tricky. The harder you chase peace, the more elusive it becomes. Think about what happens when you sit down to meditate. You close your eyes and try to quiet your mind. Then a thought appears. Instead of just noticing it, you get frustrated because you're supposed to be peaceful right now. That frustration creates more mental noise, which makes you try harder to focus, which creates more tension, which generates more thoughts to resist. I know someone who spent 3 years trying every peace technique she could find. She did morning meditation, evening yoga, bought essential oils, practiced gratitude journaling, and even took weekend retreats. The more techniques she added to her routine, the more anxious she became about doing them perfectly. She'd wake up stressed about fitting in her peace practices before work. She'd feel guilty when she missed a session. Her quest for peace had become another source of pressure in her life. This creates what psychologists call an ironic process. When you try not to think about something, your brain has to keep checking whether you're still not thinking about it. When you try to force relaxation, your nervous system has to monitor whether you're relaxed yet. It's like telling someone not to think about a pink elephant. The instruction itself guarantees they'll think about the pink elephant. Neuroscience research shows that forced relaxation attempts often trigger the opposite response in your brain. When you sit down and command yourself to be calm, your prefrontal cortex starts working harder to suppress unwanted thoughts and feelings. This mental effort actually increases cortisol production and activates your sympathetic nervous system. You end up more wired than when you started. The person I mentioned earlier discovered this the hard way. After years of trying every technique, she felt more restless than ever. She realized that each method had become another way to avoid feeling whatever she was actually feeling. Her meditation practice had turned into a sophisticated form of resistance against her present moment experience. Here's what creates the trap. Every time you notice you're not peaceful, your brain interprets this as evidence that something is wrong and needs fixing. This triggers your stress response system, which floods your body with chemicals designed to help you solve problems and escape danger. But peace isn't a problem to solve or a danger to escape from. It's something entirely different. Your nervous system can't tell the difference between running from a lion and running from your own inner experience. Both situations activate the same fight-or-flight mechanisms that make peace impossible. This is the specific psychological mechanism that keeps people stuck. They're literally using their stress response system to try to eliminate stress. The solution isn't to try harder or find better techniques. The trap exists because we're looking in completely the wrong places for something that works according to different rules entirely. There's a hidden reason why perfect circumstances never deliver the lasting peace they promise. You've probably noticed this pattern in your own life. You think getting that promotion will finally give you peace of mind. You believe finding the right relationship will settle your restlessness. You convince yourself that once you have enough money in the bank, you'll stop worrying about the future. People spend decades chasing these external fixes. They work overtime to create the perfect living situation. They search for partners who meet every requirement on their list. They organize their schedules down to the minute, thinking control over their environment equals inner calm. They avoid difficult conversations, believing conflict-free relationships will bring tranquility. They accumulate achievements, possessions, and experiences like insurance policies against anxiety. Here's what researchers have discovered about people with seemingly perfect lives. Celebrities with millions of fans still struggle with depression. Lottery winners report feeling empty within months of their big win. Business executives who built empires from nothing describe feeling more stressed at the top than when they started. Professional athletes who achieved their childhood dreams talk about the hollow sensation that follows reaching the summit. Take the story of a successful surgeon I heard about. He spent 15 years building his practice, buying the dream house, and creating what looked like an ideal family life. He had respect, financial security, and a beautiful home in the best neighborhood. Yet he'd lie awake at 3 in the morning, feeling completely unsettled. His external success hadn't touched the restlessness that lived deeper inside him. External circumstances create temporary satisfaction at best. Your brain experiences a brief surge of pleasure when you get what you want. Then something called hedonic adaptation kicks in. This psychological process means you quickly return to your baseline level of happiness, regardless of positive changes in your circumstances. The new car stops feeling special after a few months. The promotion brings fresh pressures that cancel out the initial relief. What happens next reveals the real problem. You interpret this return to restlessness as evidence that you chose the wrong external solution. Maybe you need a different job, a bigger house, or a new relationship, so you start the search again, convinced that the next external change will finally deliver the peace that the last one failed to provide. This creates an endless cycle that exhausts your energy and attention. You're always focused on what's missing or what needs to be different. Your mind stays busy planning the next acquisition or achievement. Peace becomes something that exists in a future where all your circumstances finally align perfectly. The fundamental misunderstanding runs deeper than most people realize. External circumstances change constantly. Your job situation shifts. Relationships go through seasons. Health fluctuates. Financial markets move up and down. Weather changes. Even the most carefully constructed external peace depends on factors completely outside your control. You're essentially trying to build inner stability on a foundation that moves constantly. It's like trying to balance on a boat while standing on another boat. No matter how perfectly you arrange the external elements, they remain inherently unstable and temporary. External peace strategies fail because peace isn't a destination you arrive at through perfect circumstances. Peace operates according to completely different principles than achievement or control. It's not something you obtain by arranging your external world correctly. Peace is a way of being that exists independent of whether your circumstances are favorable or challenging. This insight opens up a completely different approach to finding what you've been searching for. What if the thing you're most afraid to do is actually the key to finding peace? Most people hear the word surrender and immediately think it means giving up or becoming weak. Your brain rebels against this idea because surrender feels dangerous. You've been taught that you need to fight for what you want and control your circumstances to feel safe. But surrender isn't what you think it is. Real surrender is the opposite of our natural instinct to control everything around us. When you try to control your external world, you're essentially fighting against reality. You resist what's happening and demand that life match your preferences. This resistance creates internal friction that blocks peace from emerging naturally. People worry that surrender means becoming passive or letting life walk all over them. This fear keeps them stuck in exhausting cycles of trying to force outcomes. But conscious surrender actually increases your power over the one thing you can truly influence, your inner state. When you stop wasting energy fighting circumstances you can't change, you have more strength available for what actually matters. The difference between resignation and conscious acceptance changes everything. Resignation feels defeated and bitter. You give up because you feel powerless. Conscious acceptance means you acknowledge reality without adding resistance to it. You stop arguing with what's already happening and redirect your energy toward responding wisely instead of reacting emotionally. Spiritual traditions across cultures have recognized this principle for thousands of years. Eastern philosophy teaches about Wu Wei, acting in harmony with natural forces rather than against them. Christian mystics wrote about surrendering to divine will as a path to inner freedom. Islamic teachings emphasize tawakkul, trusting in Allah while taking appropriate action. These traditions understood that letting go of the illusion of control opens up access to deeper sources of strength and guidance. Consider someone I know named Joshua, who struggled with anxiety about his career for years. He constantly worried about making the right decisions and controlling outcomes. Every setback felt like personal failure. He spent sleepless nights planning and replanning his next moves. The more he tried to control his professional path, the more anxious and exhausted he became. Joshua's breakthrough came when he decided to stop fighting his circumstances. Instead of resisting the uncertainty in his industry, he accepted that he couldn't control market forces or other people's decisions. He continued working hard and making smart choices, but he released his grip on specific outcomes. This shift didn't make him passive. It freed up mental energy he'd been wasting on worry and allowed him to respond more creatively to challenges. What happened next surprised him. Opportunities appeared that he never would have noticed while focused on his rigid plans. His anxiety decreased dramatically because he wasn't constantly fighting reality. Colleagues started seeing him as more calm and confident. The peace he'd been chasing through control emerged naturally when he stopped chasing it. Surrender unlocks a different kind of strength that most people never discover. When you're not busy fighting what's happening, you can see situations more clearly. You make better decisions because fear and resistance aren't clouding your judgment. You conserve energy for actions that actually make a difference, instead of burning it up on mental battles with circumstances. Surrendering control paradoxically gives you access to unshakable inner peace, because peace doesn't depend on your circumstances being perfect. Peace emerges when you stop demanding that reality be different than it is. This reveals something profound about peace's true location.